planted and detonated bombs on the streets of Chelsea in the heart of Manhattan and in New Jersey, hoping to kill as many innocent people as possible. Rahimi's crimes of hate have been met with swift and resolute justice. Just over a year following his attacks, Rahimi now stands convicted of his crimes of terror after a fair and open trial by a jury of unanimous New Yorkers. He now faces a mandatory sentence of life in prison. Today's verdict is a victory for New York City. It's a victory for America in its fight against terror, and it's a victory for all who believe in the cause of justice. I want to thank the FBI, and I have here with me Bill Sweeney, the Assistant Director in charge of the New York Field Office. I want to thank the NYPD, and we have with me Deputy Commissioner John Miller, and the whole Joint Terrorism Task Force for the amazing work that they did, a really heroic response to the attacks and the investigation. I want to thank the Linden Police Department, who arrested Mr. Rahimi following a shootout. I also want to thank, of course, the prosecutors in our office and the agents, case agents, and investigators on the team. And they're all standing behind me. And in particular, from our office, Assistant U.S. Attorneys Amy Obove, Andrew D. Philippus, and Sean Crowley, and Investigator George Corey. These are some of the finest prosecutors in the country, and we all owe them a debt of gratitude. I'm going to hand it over now to Bill Sweeney.
Thank you, June. I just wanted to thank the exceptional public servants that are standing behind me for their work on this case. This is the core investigative team, but more importantly, I wanted to thank the hundreds of law enforcement officers on both sides of the river in Jersey and in New York who worked together as one team to bring this case to a quick resolution. It's very obvious that this city remains a target, and most importantly, I want to thank the public that worked to bring this case to this result.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, June. Ahmad Rahimi came to New York City on September 17th with a plan to, as June Kim said, kill as many innocent people as possible. He had fallen for the false narratives of groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda that dictate it's all right to slaughter innocents in the name of some cause that even he doesn't seem to understand. This investigation was seamless. The tiniest clues proved to be some of the most important. But one of the things that spoke volumes was the book that Mr. Rahimi was captured with that detailed the narratives he was following, quoting leaders of ISIS, leaders of Al-Qaeda, saying that the call was to murder the non-believers at home, specifically referencing the United States and law enforcement as a target, which he proved again when he opened fire on a police officer in Linden, New Jersey, who was trying to help him when he found him sleeping in a doorway. Ahmad Rahimi, from the time that these bombs went off on 23rd Street and the bomb that failed to detonate on 27th Street, was captured within 50 hours, less than 2 days. That's a 650-foot crime scene, forensic evidence, post-blast evidence, video evidence, eyewitness evidence. And the reason that happened so quickly and so seamlessly is because of the work of the FBI NYPD Joint Terrorism Task Force, which comprises more than 50 different agencies, and all of that talent that is brought to bear, as well as the efforts of the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, which is inarguably the most experienced prosecutor's office in the country when it comes to cases involving terrorism and terrorist groups. So once again, out of 24 plots against New York City since the attacks on 9/11, Ahmad Khan Rahimi learned a lesson which we keep reminding people of. This is the wrong place to try and carry out an act of terrorism. Witnesses will come forward, evidence will be developed, arrests will be made, prosecutions will be brought forth, and they will be successful.
Thank you, everyone.
you go. Yeah, that was a good interview.
All right, guys, we're back live in the newsroom here with my crew. Wait, hey guys.
Oh my gosh, everyone just left.
Everyone just left. I'm here with Raisa. She's
Hi,
back in the
guys.
newsroom after a little hiatus. We're happy to have her back.
Yes.
Not to take away from the seriousness of what we just saw, of course, the jury saying they are convicting Ahmad Khan Rahimi, who was the 29-year-old who injured 30 in that Chelsea Manhattan bombing. Do you remember that last year? In September.
A little bit of a blur for me, but I do remember you just mentioned a little bit of the experience and where you were at the time. So what happened?
I had a friend or some contacts, obviously, who had relatives in that area, and it was. I remember just the vague details of him, and they explained it as you probably just heard, planting some sort of bomb that exploded and emitted shrapnel that injured up to 30 people was the number. Okay. So the trial was today. He's sort of described as a loner from Elizabeth, New Jersey. And that just all came down today. So that was kind of surprise news. I didn't really see that breaking today, but we just got the notice.
Absolutely.
So sometimes we don't really know what's coming in, but we're kind of here just to bring you some of the live sources and stuff for news. And right now, not a ton coming in. We have a couple pieces from inside the White House with President Trump that we'll play back for you in just a second. But so let's chat a little bit about celeb talk of the day.
Celeb dish.
Social media.
Someone broke their arm. Can you guys guess who?
I know who it was, so I'm not gonna.
Okay. Maybe comment below. No?
If you know, comment. One of the
hint. Should we hint it out a little bit?
We did a little Snapchat about it this morning.
Yeah, if you guys aren't following Fox 5 DC, you guys should on Snapchat, Instagram. We always do a lot of fun behind the scenes stuff. If you guys aren't into that, follow us.
Yeah, please do follow. We're really the same on every platform. Fox 5 DC on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and we like to work on those in the morning and do some fun snaps for you with some of the celebrity news. But the answer is Ed Sheeran, guys. He might be delaying some of his tour because he got into a bike accident and did some injury to his arm. I had a picture of it. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
But that was kind of breaking.
He put it on his Instagram, right? I guess that's how he broke.
Let's see if I can find it.
But funny story, I guess it's like the seasons of break arms. I know that sounds kind of crazy. I just had a friend who was out on a trip with her boyfriend. They were bike riding by the beach. She fell, broke her arm.
Really?
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, it's just an easy thing to do, I guess. I've never actually, have you ever broken a bone?
I did break my arm too. 5th grade, left arm.
Oh my gosh.
I don't remember what I was doing. I don't remember what, but I fell backwards and I fell with my arm behind my back, and there you go.
There's Ed Sheeran.
Oh.
That's his Insta, and we're just popping up in the middle of the screen there. But
That's
that's what he posted. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So obviously TBD for his ongoing shows and whatnot. But he came to DC like a good month ago or so, a few weeks ago.
Yes.
It was a big turnout, obviously. So he's been on tour, and now this. So that'll be.
Does he do dancing? Did you go to the
I
concert?
didn't. I think some
Just more like
people may have gone on Newsroom. I don't really know.
Okay.
But anyway, that's sort of some celeb news.
Yeah.
What else is going on?
Tomorrow's Eminem's birthday, guys. If you're a fan.
That's right. So he's gonna be 45 tomorrow.
Wow.
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
So how old would that make Haley?
I don't know. That's a good question. She's gonna be.
That's a good question.
Because we've seen her sort of blossom in her teen years and like get older.
Yeah.
Probably late teens. I don't know. Maybe 20s something.
Maybe early 20s, perhaps.
All right, we have some video coming in from President Trump, so we're going to jump over there. Let's just say this was playback. Sometimes we get video that was taped earlier this morning and coming back into us on our Fox source. So let's jump over there before we come back into the newsroom.
Okay.
We're one of the highest tax nations in the world right now, costing us millions of jobs and trillions of dollars. It's time to restore America's competitive edge and pass historic tax cuts to the American people. 1 point in GDP would be $2.5 trillion. Think of that, revenues. 1 point, we go up from 3 to 4. And when I began, we were in the ones. And now the last quarter, we were at 3.2%. And we're going up higher. But if we went, as an example, from 2 to 3 or from 3 to 4, talking about $2.5 trillion, and we're also talking about many millions of jobs. So we want to also reduce excessive government spending, and that's what we're working on at our cabinet meeting today. As we head into next year's budget season, I've asked Director Mulvaney to come up and find various savings in all of the departments that are gathered around the table, which is everybody. I need my cabinet to work with Director Mulvaney to fight these spending cuts, fight for them, and make sure that they happen. And we want to make the departments as lean and efficient as possible. At the same time, we're going to be departments with lots of heart. Lots of heart. One thing we're going to be looking at very strongly is welfare reform. That's becoming a very, very big subject, and people are taking advantage of the system, and then other people aren't receiving what they really need to live, and we think it's very unfair to them. But some people are really taking advantage of our system from that standpoint, and we are going to be looking very, very strongly, therefore, at welfare reform. It's going to be a very big topic under this administration, and it started already, and we have a lot of recommendations that we're going to be making, and you'll be hearing about them very shortly. The other thing we're doing that relates to people's lives is the prescription drug prices are out of control. The drug prices have gone through the roof, and if you look at the same exact drug by the same exact company, made in the same exact box and sold someplace else, sometimes it's a fraction of what we pay in this country. Meaning, as usual, the world is taking advantage of the United States. They're setting prices in other countries, and we're not. The drug companies, frankly, are getting away with murder. And we want to bring our prices down to what other countries are paying, or at least close, and let the other countries pay more, because they're setting such low prices that we're actually subsidizing other countries. And that's just not going to happen anymore. This has been going on for years, where our people are paying so much more for, and I don't mean they're paying 2% more. I mean they're paying double, triple, quadruple. They're paying so much more that it's very unfair to the United States, as usual. Last week, I also sent a letter to Congress outlining my administration's top priorities for immigration reform. This was a bottom-up effort driven by dedicated law enforcement professionals, and they took a big oath to protect our nations. The Justice Department is doing a fantastic job on the border and with regard to immigration, more than anyone's ever seen before from a Justice Department. Thank you very much, Jeff. It's really had an impact, and a very positive impact, and now we're going to take it to 5 steps further. Our proposal closes dangerous loopholes and vulnerabilities that enable illegal immigration, asylum fraud, and visa overstays. The visa overstays are just, you're talking about numbers that nobody even knows what they are. They're so out of control. And we're going to take care of that. When you look at what's going on in Mexico, Mexico is having a tough time right now in terms of crime. More than ever, we need the wall. We have drugs pouring through on the southern border. They're literally pouring through, and we have to have the wall. We're going to have the wall. But if you look at just what's happening on the other side of the border with the tremendous crime and the tremendous problems going on, we have a very good relationship with Mexico, but there are a lot of problems, and we don't want the drugs, and we don't want the crime, and we need the wall. Crucially, we've asked Congress to ensure that any proposed immigration reform ends chain migration. One person comes in and then brings everybody in his family in with him or her. And we have to end chain migration, which is critical for creating a system that puts American workers and the American taxpayer first. Last Thursday, I proudly nominated Kirstjen Nielsen to serve as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. I urge the Senate to quickly confirm this really tremendously qualified nominee. And I also asked for my other nominees. We have approximately half the number of nominees confirmed by the Senate, because frankly, the Democrats have terrible policy, terrible, and they're very good at really obstruction. And one thing they do well, their policy's no good, and I'm not even sure they're very good politicians, because they don't seem to be doing too well. That could be because of their bad policy. But they're great at obstruction. And we have half the nominees that President Obama had at this time. It's very unfair. They're taking everybody right out to the final moment, in many cases confirming them with tremendous majorities. But they're bringing them out purposely. They're bringing them right down to the final. We have people that are totally qualified. They're going to pass, but they're going to have to wait a long time because it's total obstruction. I can say the same thing with our judicial nominees, our judges. We have some of the most qualified people. The Wall Street Journal wrote a story about it the other day, that this is some of the most qualified people ever. and they're waiting forever online. And it shouldn't happen that way. It's not right and it's not fair. I want to thank Acting Secretary Elaine Duke for her leadership in responding to the catastrophic storms that have struck our nation and our territories. We've also issued a disaster declaration in California in response to the devastating wildfires like we've never seen. And we mourn the terrible loss of life. We have FEMA and first responders there. We have our military helping. It's very sad to watch how fast, how rapidly they move and how people are caught in their houses. I mean, it's an incredible thing, caught in their houses. So we have a lot of people helping government in California, and made a lot of progress in the last couple of days. But we're a little subject to winds and what happens with nature. But it's a very, very sad thing to watch. We also continue to pray for the victims of the mass shooting in Las Vegas. We cannot erase the pain of those who lost their loved ones, but we pledge to never leave their side. We're working with them very much so with the FBI and law enforcement, Department of Justice. And I guess a lot of people think they understand what happened, but he was a demented, sick individual. The wires were crossed pretty badly in his brain, extremely badly in his brain, and it's a very sad event. In each of these tragedies, we've witnessed, however, tremendous strength and heroism of our people. Each one of these tragedies that we've had, we have witnessed such strength and such heroism. When Americans are unified, no destructive force on earth can even come close to breaking us apart. We have a lot of work to do on behalf of our magnificent country and our extraordinary citizens. A great trust has been placed upon each member of our cabinet. We have a cabinet that there are those that are saying it's one of the finest group of people ever assembled as a candidate, as a cabinet, and I happen to agree with that. Of course, I should agree with that. But I think we have an extraordinary group of people around this table. This is a tremendous amount of talent. And I wouldn't say I was necessarily looking to be politically correct, although I ended up being politically correct because that was the right thing to do in every sense of the word. However, we have just gotten really, really great people. I'm very proud of them. So we're going to work on all of those things I just outlined and many more. We have the Iran deal that right now is being studied, and I think a lot of people agreed with what I did. I feel strongly about what I did. I'm tired of being taken advantage of as a nation. This nation has been taken advantage of for many, many years, for many decades, frankly, and I'm tired of watching it. But the Iran deal was something that I felt had to be done, and we'll see what phase 2 is. Phase 2 might be positive, and it might be very negative. It might be a total termination. That's a very real possibility. Some would say that's a greater possibility. But it also could turn out to be very positive. We'll see what happens. I thought the tone of the Iranian leaders was very modified, and I was happy to see that, but I don't know if that means anything. They're great negotiators. They negotiated a phenomenal deal for themselves, but a horrible deal for the United States. And we're going to see what happens. The healthcare, as you know, is moving along. Knocked out the CSRs. That was a subsidy to the insurance companies. That was a gift. That was, frankly, what they gave the insurance companies. Just take a look at their stocks. Take a look at where their stock was when Obamacare was originally approved and what it is today. You'll see numbers that anybody, if you invested in those stocks, you'd be extremely happy. And they have given them a total gift. They have given them, you could almost call it a payoff, and it's a disgrace. And that money goes to the insurance companies. We want to take care of poor people. We want to take care of people that need help with health care. And that's what I'm here to do. And I'm never going to get campaign contributions, I guarantee you that, from the insurance companies, but a lot of other people got them. You look at the Democrats, take a look at that. Take a look at how much money has been spent by the Democrats and by the health companies on politicians generally, but take a look at the coffers of the Democrats. So the CSR payments has actually brought Republicans and Democrats together, because we got calls, emergency calls from the Democrats, and I think probably the Republicans were also calling them, saying, let's come up with at least a short-term fix of health care in this country. And the gravy train ended the day I knocked out the insurance company's money, which was last week. Hundreds of millions of dollars a month handed to the insurance companies for very little reason, believe me. I want the money to go to the people. I want the money to go to poor people that need it. I want the money to go to people that need proper health care, not to insurance companies, which is where it's going. As of last week, I ended that. So we have a lot of interesting things to do. I'm meeting with Mitch McConnell in a little while for lunch. I think we're going to say a few words on the steps after that. I know you won't have any questions. And pretty much that's it. Enjoy yourselves, folks, and I'll see you out there with Mitch McConnell. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, do you approve of Steve Bannon's war on Mitch McConnell and the Republican establishment?
Well, Steve is very committed. He's a friend of mine, and he's very committed to getting things passed. I mean, look, I have, despite what the press writes, I have great relationships with actually many senators, but in particular with most Republican senators. But we're not getting the job done. And I'm not going to blame myself, I'll be honest. They are not getting the job done. We've had health care approved, and then you had a surprise vote by John McCain. We've had other things happen, and they're not getting the job done. And I can understand where Steve Bannon's coming from, and I can understand, to be honest with you, John, I can understand where a lot of people are coming from, because I'm not happy about it, and a lot of people aren't happy about it. We need tax cuts. We need health care. Now, we're going to get the health care done. In my opinion, what's happening is as we meet, Republicans are meeting with Democrats because of what I did with the CSRs, because I cut off the gravy train. If I didn't cut the CSRs, they wouldn't be meeting. They'd be having lunch and enjoying themselves, all right? They're right now having emergency meetings to get a short-term fix of health care, where premiums don't have to double and triple every year like they've been doing under Obamacare, because Obamacare is finished. It's dead. It's gone. It's no longer, you shouldn't even mention, it's gone. There is no such thing as Obamacare anymore. It is and I said this years ago, it's a concept that couldn't have worked. In its best days, it couldn't have worked. But we're working on some kind of a short-term fix prior to the Republicans getting together, maybe with some Democrats. Again, it's obstruction, but maybe with some Democrats to fix health care permanently. So I think we'll have a short-term fix with Republicans and Democrats getting together. And after that, we're going to have a successful vote because, as you know, we were one vote short. And I think we have the votes right now, whether it's through block grant or something else, block granting the money back to the states, which does seem to make sense where the states run it because it's a smaller form of government that can be more individually sensitive. So that'll happen fairly shortly. As soon as we have the next reconciliation, I think we'll get the vote for health care. I feel very confident of that. I think we already have the vote for health care. Sadly, the Democrats can't join us on that, which will be the long-term fix. But I do believe we'll have a short-term fix because I think the Democrats will be blamed for the mess. This is an Obamacare mess. When the premiums go up, that has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that we had poor health care, delivered poorly, written poorly, approved by the Democrats. It was called Obamacare. But I think we'll have a short-term fix, and then we'll have a long-term fix, and that will take place probably in March or April. We will have a very solid vote. It'll be probably 100% Republican, no Democrats, but most people know that that's going to be a very good form of health insurance. So that'll be it. Okay? Any other questions? No? Thank you. I'll see you in a little while. I know how he feels. It depends on who you're talking about. There are some Republicans, frankly, that should be ashamed of themselves, but most of them, I'll tell you what, I know the Republican senators. Most of them are really, really great people that want to work hard and they want to do a great thing for the American public. But you had a few people that really disappointed us. They really, really disappointed us. So I can understand fully how Steve Bannon feels. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Barbara, you say.
Say it.
Hey guys, we're back in the studio. Thanks for watching. That was pre-taped, some tape of President Trump at a cabinet meeting in the White House. But I'm here with Raisa still, our social media girl, and Monica from upstairs.
Ooh, what's
Just
that in your
saying
hand?
hey. It was someone's birthday. Our
So
senior web
yummy.
producer's birthday was Sunday.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know, a lot of
Consider that.
birthdays. October. I'm October.
We're so many October birthdays. So many. So that's really exciting. If you have an October birthday, let us know. And thanks for watching our stream today, guys. Mom, what are you working on today? Anything special?
A lot of projects, a lot of
Anything you want to talk about?
forums and things to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing fun.
Little inside look. Yeah, you know, hanging in.
World.
Yep, right, that's what you do. We all kind of do something different and special, and we try to feature different people in the newsroom so you can kind of get to know some people. And Rights, like I said, Rights that focuses on social media, and we do all our platforms, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Fox5DC is our handle.
Absolutely. So if you haven't add us. We report on like the trending topics, viral tweets, viral stories. We're suckers for them, especially like the feel-good stories.
We
So,
totally are.
Just stay in the loophole, guys. Follow us on Instagram. If anything, just watch our Instagram stories. You'll love it.
Yeah, we
They're
have fun with it in the morning.
We have a lot of fun.
You know, it's really cool because our teams are awesome, and our morning show is so amazing. It's so well produced. We love to be kind of a part of it, and so you know, we grab our entertainment guests and our food and music and the arts and the cool stuff that you see towards the end of like the feature-y 10 a.m. show.
Yeah.
So we're happy to bring you that, as well as some of the breaking news and politics and all that stuff that we bring you. So anyway, with that, guys, we had a NASA event that was going on today. It was live from the National Science Foundation, which is actually close by to here, but unfortunately that stream has ended. So I think we're gonna kind of switch it up and take a short little break, give you a shot of the White House, and then when we have some more live sources come in and videos, we'll bring them to you.
They're paying double, triple, quadruple. They're paying so much more that it's very unfair to the United States, as usual. Last week, I also sent a letter to Congress outlining my administration's top priorities for immigration reform. This was a bottom-up effort driven by dedicated law enforcement professionals, and they took a big oath to protect our nations. The Justice Department is doing a fantastic job on the border and with regard to immigration, more than anyone's ever seen before from a Justice Department. Thank you very much, Jeff. It's really had an impact and a very positive impact, and now we're going to take it to 5 steps further. Our proposal closes dangerous loopholes and vulnerabilities that enable illegal immigration, asylum, fraud, and visa overstays. The visa overstays are just, you're talking about numbers that nobody even knows what they are. They're so out of control. And we're going to take care of that. When you look at what's going on in Mexico, Mexico is having a tough time right now in terms of crime. More than ever, we need the wall. We have drugs pouring through on the southern border. They're literally pouring through, and we have to have the wall. We're going to have the wall. But if you look at just what's happening on the other side of the border with the tremendous crime and the tremendous problems going on, we have a very good relationship with Mexico, but there are a lot of problems, and we don't want the drugs, and we don't want the crime, and we need the wall. Crucially, we've asked Congress to ensure that any proposed immigration reform ends chain migration. One person comes in and then brings everybody in his family in with him or her. And we have to end chain migration, which is critical for creating a system that puts American workers and the American taxpayer first. Last Thursday, I proudly nominated Kirstjen Nielsen to serve as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. I urge the Senate to quickly confirm this really tremendously qualified nominee. And I also asked for my other nominees. We have approximately half the number of nominees confirmed by the Senate because, frankly, the Democrats have terrible policy, terrible, and they're very good at really obstruction. And one thing they do well, their policy's no good, and I'm not even sure they're very good politicians because they don't seem to be doing too well. That could be because of their bad policy. But they're great at obstruction. And we have half the nominees that President Obama had at this time. It's very unfair. They're taking everybody right out to the final moment, in many cases confirming them with tremendous majorities. But they're bringing them out purposely. They're bringing them right down to the final. We have people that are totally qualified. They're going to pass, but they're going to have to wait a long time because it's total obstruction. I can say the same thing with our judicial nominees, our judges. We have some of the most qualified people. The Wall Street Journal wrote a story about it the other day, that this is some of the most qualified people ever, and they're waiting forever online. And it shouldn't happen that way. It's not right and it's not fair. I want to thank Acting Secretary Elaine Duke for her leadership in responding to the catastrophic storms that have struck our nation and our territories. We've also issued a disaster declaration in California in response to the devastating wildfires like we've never seen. And we mourn the terrible loss of life. We have FEMA and first responders there. We have our military helping. It's very sad to watch how fast, how rapidly they move and how people are caught in their houses. It's an incredible thing, caught in their houses. So we have a lot of people helping government in California, and made a lot of progress in the last couple of days. But we're a little subject to winds and what happens with nature. But it's a very, very sad thing to watch. We also continue to pray for the victims of the mass shooting in Las Vegas. We cannot erase the pain of those who lost their loved ones, but we pledge to never leave their side. We're working with them very much so with the FBI and law enforcement, Department of Justice. And I guess a lot of people think they understand what happened, but he was a demented, sick individual. The wires were crossed pretty badly in his brain, extremely badly in his brain, and it's a very sad event. In each of these tragedies, we've witnessed, however, tremendous strength and heroism of our people. Each one of these tragedies that we've had, we have witnessed such strength and such heroism. When Americans are unified, no destructive force on earth can even come close to breaking us apart. We have a lot of work to do on behalf of our magnificent country and our extraordinary citizens. A great trust has been placed upon each member of our cabinet. We have a cabinet that there are those that are saying it's one of the finest group of people ever assembled as a candidate, as a cabinet, and I happen to agree with that. Of course, I should agree with that. But I think we have an extraordinary group of people around this table. This is a tremendous amount of talent. And I wouldn't say I was necessarily looking to be politically correct, although I ended up being politically correct because that was the right thing to do. In every sense of the word, however, we have just gotten really, really great people. I'm very proud of them. So we're going to work on all of those things I just outlined and many more. You know, we have the Iran deal that right now is being studied, and I think a lot of people agreed with what I did. I feel strongly about what I did. I'm tired of being taken advantage of as a nation. This nation has been taken advantage of for many, many years, for many decades, frankly, and I'm tired of watching it. But the Iran deal was something that I felt had to be done, and we'll see what phase 2 is. Phase 2 might be positive, and it might be very negative. It might be a total termination. That's a very real possibility. Some would say that's a greater possibility. But it also could turn out to be very positive. We'll see what happens. I thought the tone of the Iranian leaders was very modified, and I was happy to see that, but I don't know if that means anything. They're great negotiators. They negotiated a phenomenal deal for themselves, but a horrible deal for the United States. And we're going to see what happens. The healthcare, as you know, is moving along. Knocked out the CSRs. That was a subsidy to the insurance companies. That was a gift. That was, frankly, what they gave the insurance companies. Just take a look at their stocks. Take a look at where their stock was when Obamacare was originally approved and what it is today. You'll see numbers that anybody, if you invested in those stocks, you'd be extremely happy. And they have given them a total gift. They have given them, you could almost call it a payoff. And it's a disgrace. And that money goes to the insurance companies. We want to take care of poor people. We want to take care of people that need help with health care. And that's what I'm here to do. And I'm never going to get campaign contributions, I guarantee you that, from the insurance companies, but a lot of other people got them. You look at the Democrats, take a look at that. Take a look at how much money has been spent by the Democrats and by the health companies, on politicians generally, but take a look at the coffers of the Democrats. So the CSR payments has actually brought Republicans and Democrats together, because we got calls, emergency calls, from the Democrats. And I think probably the Republicans were also calling them, saying, let's come up with at least a short-term fix of health care in this country. And the gravy train ended the day I knocked out the insurance company's money, which was last week. Hundreds of millions of dollars a month handed to the insurance companies for very little reason, believe me. I want the money to go to the people. I want the money to go to poor people that need it. I want the money to go to people that need proper health care, not to insurance companies, which is where it's going. As of last week, I ended that. So we have a lot of interesting things to do. I'm meeting with Mitch McConnell in a little while for lunch. I think we're going to say a few words on the steps after that. I know you won't have any questions. And pretty much that's it. Enjoy yourselves, folks, and I'll see you out there with Mitch McConnell. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, do you approve of Steve Bannon's war on Mitch McConnell?
All right, y'all, back in the newsroom with T. You know him as our IT guy.
Hey.
Yo, do you have the mic?
I do have the mic.
So we gotta talk a little sports, a little Sunday football. One of our favorite days. I try to mix it in so we can have a lot of different news guides, so we're not just straight up. I mean, there is a big tax reform sort of speech going on with Speaker Paul Ryan that we're going to go to in a second. But quickly before we do, how was your Sunday? Did you have any crazy moments on NFL Sunday with your fantasy team?
Sunday was very relaxed for me. My team was having a bye week this weekend, so I was basically just watching some football, a little bit.
Yeah. So big Sunday because Aaron Rodgers got injured.
Aaron Rodgers went down. I didn't think it was possible,
Oh, my
humanly
goodness.
possible, but he is human after all. He's out for the rest of the season.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I was at a bar, I mean, side note, that where I watched the Patriots, go Pats, that it's also a Packers bar. And I remember there was a crazy crowd and there was, you know, yelling and screaming, but I didn't actually see because we were in a separate room. So now I'm thinking that there was a big moment there that I missed when they all probably got, you know, pretty traumatized by that.
And that was a big rivalry game against the Minnesota Vikings. They're huge rivals up there. Another game that was really good, San Francisco 49ers versus the Washington Redskins. It was at home. The 49ers had put their rookie QB up, and he was putting up numbers. He looked really good. I think it was like C.J. Beachard or something.
Okay.
I think that was his name. So they almost came back, but the Redskins defense stuck in there and won the game.
I saw that they
close
won.
game, very
It
close.
was really close.
Yep. And they also lost their top two corners, Rashad Newman and Josh Norman were out the game. A lot of pieces fell on the
Pretty
Redskins defense,
interesting.
but they still came on top.
Yeah, so they're not doing badly this season,
The
right?
NFC East is looking pretty good. The Eagles are surprisingly balling. Like
And you were saying
I didn't
that.
expect that. Yeah.
And we got some, I mean, people came from Philly here, not necessarily Philly fans, but some in our newsroom.
Oh,
And
there are tons
I'm sure
of
they're
Philly
happy.
fans.
We got some, we got some PA people.
The NFC East, Giants beat the Denver Broncos. They're 5-1 now. They got their
That's
first win of the
right.
season.
And Fitz was telling me about that. You see him sometimes on our air, Tom Fitzgerald, big Giants guy. So is Bob Barnard in this newsroom. He's somewhere around here. So a lot of mix of teams.
Yeah, so the Giants finally got their first win.
That's cool.
Cowboys looking to
Yeah.
get Zeke suspended.
Next,
some
right.
more, but
Ezekiel Elliott suspended.
yeah, they're trying to get that back on him. Not sure why. Kaepernick is suing the NFL.
Yep, that was big in the news today.
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick is. You know, I'm glad he's been quiet though. He's been saying, you know, that way the media can't really lash back at him because he's not really saying.
He sort of quietly put out
Exactly.
this suit.
He's moving. He's not talking too much. You know.
Interesting. And then we were talking about the Patriots. They squeaked it out against the Jets
Patriots.
somehow.
And next Sunday is going to be. Sunday night is going to be
Yeah.
the Super Bowl rematch.
Rematch for last year's Super Bowl. If you, I'll never forget it. Early February last year. And it'll be a night game this Sunday.
8:30 should be very exciting. Hopefully the Falcons can stay awake for all four quarters. I mean, and not blow it at the end.
There'll be some cool tweets, some funny jokes out of that. We'll make sure we grab the viral ones for you guys. All right, a little bit of sports talk for you guys. We'll try to check in with T here and there. Let's go over to Paul Ryan, who's speaking about tax reform. Right now, this is live. Let's jump over there.
That right there will help reverse this drag on jobs in America. That right there, along with the regulatory relief that is well underway, will help us get to over 3% economic growth, something we have not seen in this country for about a decade. The difference between the kind of economy we've had, growing between 1% and 2%, and the economy we can have, growing at 3+%, trillions of dollars invested in this country. Trillions of dollars going to jobs, going to paychecks, going to futures, going to financing confidence in this country. That is among the reasons why tax reform is so important. Other reason is this. About half of Americans are literally living paycheck to paycheck in this country. And many more Americans are living about one paycheck away from living paycheck to paycheck in this country. We have a lot of economic anxiety in this country. We have a lot of anxiety in this country. And a lot of that anxiety in this country comes from this economic anxiety. Can I get ahead? Can I save for my kids' education? Can we save for this house? What's our retirement going to look like? What's next year going to look like? What's next month going to look like? Can we meet the bills next week? And that is why, of all reasons, we need to fix this tax system. because middle-income taxpayers are struggling these days. Because when you have an economy that's been growing as slowly as it's been growing, that produces huge anxiety. It means people don't get raises. It means living standards are flat. And it means futures are in jeopardy and confidence is at an all-time low. You get tax reform where people keep more of their own money, where they have more in their own paycheck, where when they work more and more, they get farther and farther ahead. That produces confidence. That produces security. That increase in confidence, that increase in economic security helps revitalize this country, this economy, and it helps reduce the anxiety we have in this country. About 9 out of 10 people these days have to have assistance filling out their taxes. Either they gotta go get some software to do it, or they gotta go pay an accountant to do it. And if they don't do that, then they just sort of risk hoping they get it right, only to find out they have a rude awakening on April 15th, or even worse, maybe a very stressful call from the IRS. You clean up this tax system, you double the standard deduction, you remove the marriage penalty, you actually give people more money for raising kids by having a bigger child tax credit, and you lower people's tax rates across the board, you do 2 things. You have a tax code that you can fill out on a postcard for 9 out of 10 taxpayers in this country. And you give middle-income taxpayers big tax relief. And you help those people who want to get into the middle class, you give them another leg up on that rung of the economic ladder so they too can get in the middle class. That's what real tax reform looks like. That's what we can do by the end of this year. So what we're proposed to do is nothing short of getting this country reset on the right track, which is something we've been needing to do for a long time. This is something that we ran on all last year. And here's the last point I want to make is, I've always believed that you have a covenant with your voters, your employers, when you run for office. I've always believed that the way public servants should pursue their jobs is to say to the people they aspire to hire them, this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is what I think works. And we collectively in the House Republicans and across the board as a party said this to America in 2016. We collectively said, we think our tax system is a mess. We think the IRS has way too much clout. We think the tax rates are far too high. We think the tax code is far too riddled with loopholes. We think the tax code is rigged. We think it's basically a system of all these carve-outs and loopholes and special interest groups which artificially raise people's tax rates. And if we just clear out these loopholes, clear out this Washington micromanagement, and just simplify the system and lower people's tax rates and let people keep more of their own hard-earned dollars, and then get businesses in a place where they can be put on a level playing field, where we go from being at the back of the pack in the world to the front of the pack in the world, so we have an encouragement to stay in America and to keep businesses in America, we will turn this economy around. That is what we said in 2016. It is now the year 2017. It's time we keep our promises. It's time we make good on our commitments. And that is exactly what we're doing right now. Why? Because we want to help people. We want to do this because we see people struggling in this country. We see half the country living paycheck to paycheck. We see middle-income families really stressful. We see companies moving overseas. We used to have a company here, the largest publicly held company in Wisconsin, headquartered in Milwaukee, is now headquartered in Ireland. That's happening all around the country. This can be fixed, this can be reversed, this can be changed, so that it makes sense to become and stay an American business, a Wisconsin business. It makes sense to build that factory in America. I'll just say this one point. Met with the head of Intel, went over to Portland, Oregon. Intel is a great company. Intel makes these microprocessors that are in most of your computers. Intel has 50,000 employees in America. Factories, great jobs, great jobs. They crunched the numbers for us. They said they would save on taxes alone, just taxes alone, $2 billion on taxes per factory over a 10-year period if they just move their factories to another country. No matter what country, just another country. Why on earth do we do that? Why on earth does our tax code tell the men and women of this country who are slaving away building businesses, creating jobs, borrowing money, taking risks. It's more expensive if you do it here than if you do it in another country. We can fix this. And when we fix this, when we say, not only do you want to keep your business and your money and your jobs in America, but it makes sense to do that, we will take off. It's what happened in 1986. It's what's going to happen in 2018 when we do this. So I want to thank people here at WMC. I want to thank Kurt Bauer. I want to thank BMO people for doing this. I want to thank you for leading the charge in educating our fellow Wisconsinites to make sure we know what it's going to take to get our economy strong and fortified and to get our people healthy and growing. And I want you all to know that we are going to keep our word that we gave you when we asked you for this job in the first place, which is to turn this tax system around so that we can get the kind of growth in jobs, the growth in opportunity, bigger paychecks, more jobs in America, and we know we can do this with tax reform. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for what you do now and what you're about to do, WMC. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm sorry, they told me to talk 10 minutes, it was 12 minutes and 34 seconds. I apologize about that. So any questions? I can't see very well, so if you, oh, there you go, that makes it a lot easier. Anybody have any questions, comments? Yeah, over there, how about the dude waving his arm over there? Hey, wait for the mic.
What is your biggest obstacle to getting tax reform passed?
Well, you ever heard of the United States Senate before? I had this other card I didn't bring with me. The House is a majority body, and that means we just need 50 plus 1% votes to pass bills. We've passed about 383 bills this year in the House already, which is the fastest pace of a legislature in this presidency, faster than the Obama presidency, the Clinton presidency, both Bush presidencies. But 274 of those bills, like our Dodd-Frank repeal and replace bill, I can go on and on and on, are still in the Senate because most bills over there take a supermajority. They can filibuster them. The Senate has a 52-seat majority. We are going to use the budget rules, which is what you typically use for tax bills, called reconciliation. That means they can't filibuster this bill. That means we can stick to a timeline like we have right now to get this done this year, so we wake up 2018 with a new tax system. That's a 2-vote margin. You saw what happened in the Senate with health care. Even in the face of a collapsing Obamacare system, even in the face of the premiums doubling, not just here in Wisconsin, but just all around America, the Senate still couldn't find a way to get 50 plus 1 vote on health care. So the Senate is a very narrow majority. The reason I'm much more bullish on tax reform to the Senate is because we more or less agree on this, on how it should go. We spent 4 months negotiating with the Senate and the White House what tax reform will look like at the front end of the situation, at the front end of the process, so that we can nail the landing at the end of the year. So I'm far more bullish, and the other problem we had with healthcare was, in reconciliation, we could only put about half of what we wanted in that bill because of the rules. With tax reform, the entire tax code overall can go in this one bill, with this one vote that cannot be filibustered. So I feel like we're far better wired for success. We have far more agreement on getting this done, but it's always a real narrow thing to get things through the Senate because of their very narrow margin over there. I believe some Democrats will vote for tax reform in the Senate. It's hard for me to imagine somebody representing a state like ours, where your manufacturing, your agriculture, your small business, this is so clearly in our interest. I mean, it's just, I'll debate anybody on why this is so much in our interest. It's hard for me to see a person representing a state like North Dakota or Indiana or Missouri not voting for this, because it's so clearly in the interest of these kinds of states like ours, where people are struggling, where we have manufacturers. So I feel pretty confident we're going to get it done, but the Senate is always a pretty narrow needle to thread. Okay. Okay, over there.
Will the rates be retroactive to the beginning of the year, or will they be?
Which year are you talking about?
The current year.
Yeah, right. You'll see 3 different kinds of dates in this bill. First of all, as we mentioned, you heard me mention full and immediate expensing. There are rates that you have to set based on the date of announcement of policy. So the full expensing you'll have in this bill for at least 5 years, that's going to be retroactive to September 27, 2017. Why? Because that's the day we release the framework. Because what we don't want to do is tell people to hold back on their purchases of plant equipment and slow down the economy. So literally today you buy a CNC machine for your business. Joe Prejean buys some more plastic injection molding equipment at Brent or GoX. It is injection molding, right, Joe? Extrusion. Jeez, I always get that wrong. Sorry. He buys more plastic extrusion, a safe room, a clean room. He can write off 100% of that if he does it right now because he's past that September 27 deadline. On the tax rates, that's going to be a function of getting the math to work. And our budget resolution, which we'll have sorted out in a matter of days, will determine where the fiscal space is on that. Some dates will be later. We want to have a transition period. So we're going from hundreds of loopholes to very few loopholes in exchange for lower rates, more expensing. And those are going to require transition rules, and those will be phased-in dates on a lot of policies. So you'll see lots of different dates in this bill because we're overhauling the entire system. On the rates themselves, the goal is to get them down as far as possible, as fast as possible, and we'll know in a matter of weeks what those numbers look like. And we'll put this bill out as soon as the budget is done. The House passed its budget, the Senate's doing theirs this week. We got to reconcile the differences past that. When that's done, the tax writers will know what the revenue line is to write their bill. They'll release that bill, and then you'll see what those dates look like in a matter of weeks. Extrusion. Sorry, Joe, not injection. Time for one more? All right, yeah. Yeah, so the question is, what effects is this going to have overall on the national debt? There's two things you've got to do to get our debt under control. Number one, this is why I'm very disturbed that we didn't get health care done. We passed our health care bill back in May in the House. Number one is entitlement reform. We are not, as a country, prepared for the baby boomer retirement. We better get prepared because those particular programs themselves will lead us to a bankrupt country. And that's why we have to get health care reform right and have to get entitlement reform right. The second thing you need to do to get this debt under control is have economic growth. If our economy is growing between 1% and 2%, that's going to bring up the debt crisis. But if our economy is growing back to what it used to grow at, 3.5%, that gives us trillions of dollars over the long haul to reduce the debt. So we've got two projects to get this debt under control: faster economic growth, entitlement reform. We're going to have to just keep working at the entitlement reform project, but we're not going to abandon the second project, which is economic growth. Two things do that from a federal perspective. Get regulatory certainty. You're a dairy farmer in Berlin. I bet the waters of the USA was probably really a problematic regulation for you coming from the EPA. There's just one example of regulatory reform and certainty that's coming out this year from this administration and this Congress. We passed 14 congressional UACs rolling back bad regulations that were costing us jobs. That's a tool we use in the Senate that can't be filibustered. It's been done once in the last 20 years. We've done it 14 times this year already. The second thing for economic growth is that what I just talked about, tax reform. So we are convinced that getting tax reform done will give us a faster economic growth, which gets us more revenues to get this debt under control. The tax reform bill itself, in order to meet these rules, these budget rules I just described, have to be deficit neutral in the long run. So we are convinced that getting tax rates down, writing a tax code that replaces our revenue and then some, when you combine economic growth and reform, gets us what we need to do to get this debt under control. So once we do tax reform and we get that economy growing faster, we can't take our eye off the ball on the spending side of the ledger, and that is the entitlement reform that we just have to keep focused on and keep going back at. The Senate fell about one vote short on it. We just can't take no for an answer. If you first don't succeed, try again. That's why we're asking our friends in the Senate, keep working on health care entitlement reform. It's too important. Get that done. But at the same time, we're not going to stop our efforts on tax reform, which is the other side of the equation, a faster economy. So, thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Please welcome back to the stage, Kurt Bauer.
All right. Thank you, Speaker Ryan. That was fantastic. We appreciate you spending time with us. We know how busy you're
All right, I wasn't sure how long we'd have that feed. Obviously, it just cut out on us. That was Speaker Paul Ryan speaking in Madison, Wisconsin about tax cuts and tax reform. Now, also, I was mentioning there's some stuff going on with NASA today, some live pictures and live feeds of some of the people. Really, there's only 6 people in space right now. And I learned that from a website called How Many People Are There in Space Right Now.com. 4 of them were just speaking on this NASA feed, which I mentioned was live today. So I think they're still going on with it. We're going to flash over there in just a second. But you may know, usually we try to feature the daily White House press briefing. That should be coming up at 1:30. As far as we know, that we will get that stream, or a source rather, to use on our stream. And yeah, we're going to go from there. So for now, guys, over to some pictures from NASA. We're going to see if they have this in-flight ISS, International Space Station event going on as we thought they were going to be doing. So anyway, thanks for checking in with us on Fox 5 Live here inside our newsroom. You got an inside look at our digital newsroom on this Monday. Happy Monday, guys. We're going to try to keep it interesting for you, keep the flow going from our newsroom today as we go into this 3rd week of October already. Already halfway through October. It's crazy. And I was mentioning there are so many October birthdays in sort of my life, my friend group, but also in this newsroom, which is so crazy. If any of you guys share them, let us know. We want to know where you're watching from and what you think. So let's go over now to that NASA stream and see what they have coming out for us.
Inside that unpiloted resupply ship, 1,940 pounds of propellant, 51 pounds of oxygen, 53 pounds of air, 926 pounds of water, and 2,976 pounds of dry cargo and spare parts, equaling 2.9 tons of supplies, food, and fuel for the Expedition 53 crew. 100 meters now separating progress on the International Space Station.
Everything is nominal and the crosshairs are aligned.
The 2 vehicles are flying over eastern Kazakhstan, about to move from northwest to southeast across northwestern China, south of Mongolia.
Yeah, we still remember about the back. SSVP ready message just came up.
Everything continues to proceed in normal fashion, just 44 meters separating the 2 craft.
Range is 42 meters, 42. Rate is 0.16. Everything's nominal. Crosshairs are aligned. Moscow copies.
As we come to the top of the hour, the Progress 68 cargo craft in the final minutes of its 2-day journey following its launch on Saturday morning from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Now just 30 meters separating the 2 craft. You can see the Pirs docking compartment just above the crosshairs, the docking target perfectly aligned with those crosshairs. The station and the Progress flying over northern China at an altitude of 252 statute miles.
Activating operational mode and enabling backup. Copy. Do not deactivate the, do not disable the operational mode quite yet. Absolutely. Standing by. Selecting various AGC modes.
Just 10 meters separating the Progress from its docking port.
Okay, copy. 2 squares, range is 0-1. Everything is nominal. Moscow copies.
Seven meters now. Standing by for contact and capture.
Range is about 3 meters. Rate is 012. Everything is nominal. Crosshairs are aligned. Moscow copy.
This view again from the Progress's camera showing the relative motion between the two vehicles, which is beginning to settle out. There's the retraction of the first of the servicing towers. The second tower now is beginning to retract. The automated launch sequence underway, standing by for main engine start. Main engine start initiated. Turbo pumps and engines up to flight speed. And liftoff. Liftoff of the 68th Progress resupply craft, bound on a 2-day journey to the International Space Station. Good roll, yaw, and pitch program reported. Good parameters. Stage 1 engines operating normally. The Soyuz boosters arcing out to the northeast. The vehicle is reported to be in good, stable configuration. Coming up on the 1-minute mark into the flight. Good pressure in the combustion chambers. A good ride so far for the Progress resupply craft. All the control systems are reported to be in good shape as we pass the 90-second mark into the flight. All engines operating normally. Standing by for first stage shutdown and separation. Yaw pitch and roll program is all normal. And we've had confirmation of first stage separation. 2 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight, the vehicle traveling 4,500 miles an hour, 29 miles in altitude, 29 miles downrange from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. All structural parameters are reported to be normal. Second stage engine performance reported nominal from the blockhouse down in Baikonur. All control systems are reported to be in excellent shape. Just over 3 minutes into the flight. It will take 8 minutes, 46 seconds for the Progress to reach its preliminary orbit. And the shroud has been jettisoned, covering the Progress 68 cargo craft, now exposed to its own space travel. Second stage engines continue to perform normally. 3.5 minutes into the flight. The Soyuz booster traveling more than 6,000 miles an hour, 66 miles in altitude, 125 miles downrange from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. About 1 more minute left in second stage performance. The third stage will ignite before the separation of the second stage in what is called a hot stage firing. Second stage engines continue to fire normally. 4 minutes, 15 seconds into the flight. Yaw, pitch, and roll program all normal. Liftoff again occurred at 3:46 and 53 seconds a.m. Central Time, 4:46 a.m. and 53 seconds Eastern Time, 2:46 p.m. at the Baikonur Cosmodrome. All Soyuz booster parameters are normal. 4 minutes, 47 seconds into the flight, standing by for second stage shutdown and separation. And we've had third stage ignition, second stage shutdown and separation. The Progress 68 riding atop the singular power of the third stage engines right now for the remainder of powered flight. Coming up on the 5.5 minute mark into the flight. All vehicle parameters are reported to be normal. The flight control team at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov standing by to take over control of the Progress's journey to the International Space Station after third stage shutdown and separation. Coming up on the 6 minute mark into the flight, the third stage of the Soyuz booster traveling almost 11,000 miles an hour, 115 miles in altitude, some 472 miles downrange from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. Good performance from that third stage engine. No issues reported. About 2 minutes of powered flight remaining. Vehicle very stable, good third stage performance. Yaw pitch and roll program continues to perform normally for the Soyuz booster's upper stage and the Progress 68 cargo craft. The vehicle traveling more than 13,000 miles an hour, 124 miles in altitude. All parameters are normal, about 1 minute of powered flight remaining. Eight minutes, 10 seconds into the flight. About 30 seconds or so of powered flight remaining. Everything is stable and looking good. Yaw, pitch, and roll program is all normal as we stand by for third stage shutdown and spacecraft separation. Third stage shutdown, spacecraft separation reported. Standing by for navigational antenna and solar array deploy. And the report from the Russian Mission Control Center is that all navigational antennas and solar arrays have been deployed as planned. So a perfect ascent to orbit, 2 days behind schedule, but safe and sound nonetheless, as the Progress 68 has entered its preliminary orbit, headed on a 2-day journey to the International Space Station.
All right, guys, bringing you back into the newsroom. Happy Monday to you. Hope you guys are having a great day already. We have a couple things coming up, including the White House press briefing. The daily briefing with Sarah Sanders is coming up sort of in the middle of the hour. We're not exactly quite sure when that will start. So eventually, you know, we're going to take you over there inside this. Here we go. The White House is a live bump shot of what it looks like outside the White House today on this really gorgeous day. And we're going to take you to a bump shot inside and wait for that to start up very shortly. So thanks for watching our stream, guys. And feel free to comment along on our chat and follow us here on our stream. You can press that subscribe button to be part of our channel. And we usually bring you the White House press briefing as much as we have it. And we typically have it daily, at least recently. It has been on camera for us. So we will kind of check back in with NASA a little bit to hear what some of them are saying. I think there's a couple of podcasters from NASA who are kind of bringing this in-flight event to life and sort of explaining it. So we're going to jump over there and then eventually jump here, which is inside the briefing room for you guys to check out. All right. So that's a live look inside the briefing room. Let's go over back to NASA quickly to hear from some of the guys who are inside the International Space Station, and then we'll jump over to this scene in the briefing room.
Engineer Joe Acaba. Expedition 53 and 54, Flight Engineer Mark Vandehei.
That's awesome. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for being with us today. So we'll start with Comrade and Paolo. You guys have been up there the longest. So just how's the mission been going so far? What are some of the highlights?
I mean, certainly highlights for us were getting to work with the previous crew and Space Ninja, Peggy Whitson, learning from them to be able to take over and run Space Station when we had our new crew show up for Expedition 53. We got to have a Dragon come up here and bring a whole bunch of science that we got to work with for a whole month. certainly the past week has been really exciting because we've done 2 EVAs that have really returned the station back to good configuration with a robotic arm and some camera work and preparing stuff for robotic tasks in the future. So we've got a lot of stuff going on inside and going on outside. And so it's been a really exciting expedition so far. And we still are only about halfway through.
Well, nothing much to add to what Comrade has already said. I mean, we're doing a lot of activities here. It's always crazy. Like you can wake up in the morning, start working with something and spin around and work with some science and then spin around again and, you know, work with the robotic arm. We've been doing almost all of it right now. We have, what, 200 more activity, 250, something like that. I mean, and we are doing all of them.
Fantastic. I mean, so today, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of different topics that we could talk about, but really wanted to focus on astronaut photography today because you guys have such a unique perspective of the Earth, and you get some time sometimes to go and take photos of the Earth and maybe just kind of watch the Earth go by. So I guess since Comrade, you're holding the mic, if you want to share some experiences from just looking out the window and just kind of what that feeling is like, what it's like to watch the Earth go by.
I mean, it's really humbling because it's such a beautiful thing, and there's so far been so few of us have had a chance to see it, and you don't look at the Earth and come not be changed. You certainly feel a part of the Earth. You realize that every experience you've ever had, every person you've ever known is down in that little blue marble, and when you see the curve, your mind knows how big the Earth is. And you realize that when you go around it in 90 minutes, you're back to, you know, essentially the same spot. And the fact that we can do that and see that, you just feel compelled to share it. I'll hand the mic over to Sabo over here because he's only been up here, you know, about a month. But to get his impressions on what it went from, you know, seeing it for the first time to now translating that into photography to try and share that with others.
The thing that impressed me the most when I first looked out the cupola to see the Earth was how close the recognizable features of the Earth seemed to space. For example, seeing Italy, and in the same view, seeing the blackness of space, it makes it seem like everybody on the Earth is really, really close to space without ever realizing it. From our perspective, there's just a thin layer of atmosphere that all of humanity is living in, and outside of that is space. So it's impressive to me how close we really are all to what we see as outer space. From a photography perspective, I think that's an important perspective for everybody to have. So my favorite thing to do is to try to capture those pictures that show both the space and places that we recognize and call home on the planet.
Absolutely. And Comrade, I know you've shared some just the perspective of the Earth compared to some other images, you know, being on the Earth too. And those are an absolute pleasure to see. But I know we have some actual questions coming in from some of our listeners right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't even imagine what it's like to actually see that view in person. But next best thing, of course, is to be able to see it through pictures and videos that you guys are taking. And the whole world really appreciates that. We've got some awesome questions coming in. Lots of people are interested in photography in space and you guys on the space station. So Jace on Facebook wants to know, there are so many cameras on the space station. How do you decide which camera to use? And can you tell us a little bit about the equipment you do have up there?
Yes, so we do have, for still photography, we essentially have a Nikon camera. Right now we have several D4. Each one of us gets his own, plus we have a couple placed strategically. Some of them are dedicated for special photography, like macro photography. We need to do a lot of macro photography for equipment here. Some were just dedicated to, you know, take there was a micro shot, right? So, try one with the telelens here. Some like this one we really use when we are pointing at Earth, and we have some windows that have a special capability of letting us taking pictures with this lens, and then we also have a red Dragon camera that we use for cinematography. We have video cameras that allow us to take HD photos. I mean, I would say that from a point of view of cameras, lenses, setup, well, we are all set here. We have everything that you can imagine. It's just what is missing a little bit is the time, because it takes time to be there at the window. It's not that you just go there and you can take a picture and leave. If you want to have something that really makes sense, you need to have to be there and stay there and understand, because it's a very quick changing environment here. You have to think that we are flying around Earth at about 4 miles per second, and things change really dramatically and really quickly. And not only that, you don't always pass over the same place with the same conditions, actually almost never. So all the conditions change continuously. The sun, the cloud coverage, the seasons, I mean the colors, the moon makes a lot of changes during the night. So it's been a quite interesting time here in trying to take all of this armada of equipment that we have and try to make it do what we want to do. Not always happens, but somebody will get really great things.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
sounds like there's a particular technique to take the absolute best pictures that you can. And from what you're saying, you have to be there for quite some time. And this is just something that I've always been interested in asking, but I'm sure the cupola is just a hot place to be on the space station to get those photos. So how do you share your time, and who gets to see who gets to go in the cupola?
Well, Paolo's the biggest, so he always gets the first. He gets the first go. You know, there's a lot of time in the day, but we're really busy, and so if somebody has an interest, they know something's coming up they want to see, they let us all know, and we respect that and let them have that space. But sometimes things might come up in the middle of the night, so you know, it's at times where we're all in there because something is so cool and we all want to see it. And sometimes you're in there by yourself just enjoying it, and sometimes you don't take pictures. I'm not the greatest photographer, so I just enjoy going and looking out the window. But you know, every now and then we wrestle for it, but we make it work.
Nice. All right. This one's for Joe, too. For you, I have to ask from Facebook. Jessica says, my first graders would like to know what your favorite part about space is. Joe was my middle school teacher, and now I'm a teacher. That's pretty cool.
Wow, that's very cool. Hello, Jessica. I'm glad that you're following us. There are so many cool things about being in space. You know, one of them is, of course, floating around. These guys are cool, and the relationships that we form are really, really cool. So I would say, you know, being able to do this and just kind of hang out in any direction you want, you kind of feel like a superhero. So that's pretty cool. But again, looking back at the Earth is simply amazing. So, Jessica, I hope your first graders get inspired to keep studying hard, studying the STEM fields, and hopefully they'll be doing more than we're doing today on the space station, and maybe they'll be visiting other planets. So, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Joe. And I just have to mention that, you know, she mentioned in that comment that you are a former classroom teacher, and you're up there. Following you, we'll have Ricky Arnold, who is also a former classroom teacher. And as part of that, we're really talking a lot about education and how it relates to the space station. So you can go look up STEM on Station, and there's a website out there, and educators can find a lot of cool resources there.
Absolutely.
All right, I got another question on Facebook. This is from Jace. Were you able to operate professional cameras before becoming astronauts, or did you learn about photography during training?
I never touched a professional camera until I became an astronaut, and that's been one of the really neat opportunities about being an astronaut. Is the like the very fancy cameras, like the red camera that Paolo mentioned. It's a pretty impressive array of equipment and great trainers to help us learn how to use them.
So Sabo, I mean, you've been up there. This is your first space flight, and you have a unique perspective being a first-time flyer. But especially, I was watching you on your spacewalk, and you got a couple moments to, during the spacewalk, look down at the Earth. So can you sort of describe that experience?
It's hard to take it all in. It's so massive. It's everywhere. The things that stuck out in my mind were seeing at night, seeing flashes of lightning that went on for about 5 minutes. the bright sunlight. It was very impressive. In fact, I'll never forget when on the very first spacewalk, when Randy opened the hatch, the airlock just lit up because of all the reflected light coming from the Earth into the airlock. And the airlock's a very confined place. It doesn't have, it's well lit, but it's not lit like the sun. And so it changed the feeling in the airlock dramatically when that hatch opened up, and then it really felt real to me.
That's awesome. All right, another question. Colin on Facebook wants to know if you guys take space selfies up there. Maybe you got to take one on your spacewalk.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just posted something from our last spacewalk on Tuesday with the space selfie, and tried to explain it to people, because you got these big inflated gloves on, and you're trying to take this camera, and it's like if you went to your oven and grabbed your oven mitts and then grabbed your camera and tried to take the selfie. That's what it's kind of like in the space. You're trying to do that and line it up and feel for the button and get the shot. So you end up trying to squeeze it a few times. Hopefully you see maybe the shutter actually took the picture, and then you come back inside later on and go, hey, did I get anything?
Amazing. Hey, so Paolo, we were kind of looking at some of your photos on Twitter, just the ones that you're sharing, and I see a lot of amazing pictures of Italy, but one that really stuck out in my mind was a picture of Madagascar and the logging going on there. Just from the perspective that you see of the Earth, what sorts of ideas of human influence do you see from 250 miles above the Earth?
Guys, I want to quickly tell you what you are watching in the lower left corner of your screen here. Actually, I'm going to take it full screen. This is a feed coming up to us from Massachusetts, and apparently a man has barricaded himself inside this home. You can see police there and SWAT team members with guns drawn outside this home, outside of Boston in Massachusetts. The details that we have on this are few. It wasn't immediately clear if the man inside is armed, but apparently the home has been burning for quite some time. And you can see there police trying to get in with various instruments, and they have guns drawn themselves. Massachusetts State Police say that a man has been in this burning home for quite some time now, and they have dispatched their special tactics operations team, and they were called to the scene shortly after noon. So that's about an hour and a half ago from where we are now. Smoke was seen billowing from this roof. And this is a live look at what's going on right there. I don't have any sound or anything on this or reporter feed, but you can see they're doing everything they can to really get rid of that glass and get into the home, even on this second level of this home where they believe the man is. So lots of police action right here. Firefighters were working to spray it with water to get the flames down. And apparently the man barricaded himself inside and refused to come out. So that's what police are saying. They don't know if anyone else was in the house or in the home, but that's what we got going on right now. So we're going to stay kind of on this scene and update you with any updates as we get them, and then jump over to the White House press briefing, which you see right here. So we'll keep it on both of those for you guys to check into for now.
Doors for immediate availability in the Rose Garden. Please make your way to the ballroom doors
Everybody? Not me. I know it ain't me.
They just need a rose garden. Yeah.
We're still having the briefing, right?
We'll see.
Good question.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Charlie, you got me up? 1, 2. Okay. Put your hand there. Black boy there. Oh, you got it. Hey, something. Okay, you just look at 1. Okay. Help out there? Yeah, maybe. I'll go run the cable. I don't know if we're going to try to do Robert second now. I'll have to run the cable. I can go get that thing ready. Should I just go ahead and punch him up and blow off the stake out for now? Yeah, I'll move it. Okay. Yeah. Take number 2. I think you already told everybody number 3. Okay.
Quick update, guys, because you see the White House press briefing room empty out. Apparently, the press are being moved from the briefing room to the Rose Garden, and they're expecting the president. That's from a tweet from our Ronica Cleary from here, Fox 5 DC. Just a quick update on what's going on. I was questioning why the room was emptying out, but turns out she updated us on that. So hopefully we do get a move on that camera. If we do have that source, hopefully we do. We bring that to you live, of course. And then, of course, below, we were just explaining the live aerial view here of the man barricaded inside a burning home in Massachusetts. I keep kind of refreshing to find some updates on that, and nothing new. Apparently, it appears they're still working on getting him out there. You can kind of see the glass that was taken out and the tactical team that went in there to retrieve this man or deal with the situation in some way. So we're going to kind of keep our eye on that as long as we have the aerials of this home, and then hopefully get a live source on the Rose Garden with the president as they sort of shift the cameras and make that change happen. So again, press briefing moving from the press briefing room to the Rose Garden, and hopefully we have that for you shortly, guys. Thanks for tuning in with us, and stay with us here on Fox 5 Live for live coverage of all the news that's going on in the middle of your day. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Because it's unilateral. It's just for cuts. It's to be appointed, they couldn't get an answer whether it's canceled or not. We have to go out this way. There's a roll card thing going on. Briefly, we don't know.
Ah.
Hello. What's up? This is Darren. Yeah. Do you see Christina? Viper 1?
They can't possibly be plugged in yet, can they?
Are they plugged in?
I don't see it.
She doesn't see it yet. Yeah, she doesn't. Yeah. Okay, thanks. He's calling me for some reason.
Well, I was, but they have control. No, I was gonna shoot the head on with this, but they have control.
Okay.
I'm just giving them a focus.
Once again, guys, just updating you on what you're watching. Looks like we just lost that feed inside the White House press briefing room because they're moving it to the Rose Garden, which we mentioned earlier. Apparently, according to some reports, the president is expected at this, so that will be a little bit of a switch. It sounds like they're kind of grabbing these cameras now and switching it up. So we're going to hope to have that for you guys. Thanks for sticking on with us and standing by as we effort that. It looks like we got the switch up now, so we'll bring that full screen for you guys to see. And as you can see, some close-ups on that burning home in Massachusetts, where the man is apparently barricaded inside. Still got those aerials going on. Pretty interesting close-ups there as we watch that situation. So anyway, thanks for hanging on to the stream, guys. We should have this next as we work on getting this feedback. I know you get bars right now, but we should be getting this live as they set up these cameras in the Rose Garden outside the back of the White House, and maybe we'll see the president. He's apparently expected at this briefing. So we'll check in there, and then we'll come back into the newsroom to check in with you guys inside our digital newsroom. Thanks for standing by with us, guys.
Checking the podium. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Podium check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Podium check. 1, 2.
Mic check.
7, 8, 9, 10. Checking the podium. Podium check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Podium check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Podium check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Podium check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Checking the podium. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Podium check. Podium check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How we doing? We're good? Good with audio?
All right, guys, so obviously it's clear that we're going to be getting this feed in from the Rose Garden as they check the mics for this. We're going to make sure we bring that full screen for you, but we'll stay on these two sort of feeds right now because this is pretty interesting. Still coverage of the special tactical team that is going into this burning home in Massachusetts to look for this man who has apparently barricaded himself inside the home, and no word on if or not he is armed. So we're going to keep an eye on this situation, and then when we see someone come up to the podium, we'll bring that full screen for you guys with the volume live from the Rose Garden at the White House. So thanks for checking in with us, guys.
Yes, no, I've got you.
This is just like the old days. Yeah. I always got questions. No way. This is my next one. No. 1 minute warning. 1 minute warning. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that we just spent quite a bit of time inside with the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, who has been a friend of mine for a long time, long before my world of politics, early into his world of politics, I think. But we've been friends for a long time. We are probably now, despite what we read, we're probably now, I think, at least as far as I'm concerned, closer than ever before. And the relationship is very good. We're fighting for the same thing. We're fighting for lower taxes, big tax cuts, the biggest tax cuts in the history of our nation. We're fighting for tax reform as part of that. We are getting close to health care. We'll come up in the early to mid part of next year. We're going to have a vote. I think we already have the votes. We feel confident we have the votes. You pretty much know what the plan is. I believe Republicans and Democrats are, as we speak, working together very hard right now, working together to do an intermediate plan, a short-term plan, because Obamacare is a disaster. The rates have gone up. The premiums have gone up. The deductibles have gone through the roof. I mean, it's terrible. You look at the deductibles, unless you really have a problem, you're not going to be able to use them. So we have been working together long and hard. We think we're in good shape for the budget, we hope. And we hope to be in good shape with, again, the largest tax cuts ever passed in this country. It's going to spur business. You look at other countries, what they've done, and we're competing with other countries. When China's at 15%, when I hear that Ireland is going to be reducing their corporate rates down to 8% from 12%, but you have other countries also reducing. We can't be at 35% and think we're going to remain competitive in terms of companies and in terms of jobs. So we worked on that. I was very honored to see a man that I've had a lot of respect for, James Lee Witt of the Clinton administration, the head of FEMA. He gave us an A+. I just see it just came out, and I've always had respect for him. He gave us, he's the FEMA director of the Clinton administration, gave us an A+ for how we responded to the hurricane aftermath, all of the hurricanes, and that includes Puerto Rico. So I just want to thank Mr. Witt, wherever you may be now, wherever you may be listening. I just want to say I really much appreciate it, because that took it out of politics, out of the world of politics, in that he was with the Clinton administration, and I'm sure remains loyal to the Clinton administration. I hope he does. So just to finish off, my relationship with this gentleman is outstanding, has been outstanding. We are working very hard to get the tax cuts. We will continue to work hard to get the health care completed. I'm going to be surprising some people with an economic development bill later on, but I haven't even told Mitch because I want to focus on tax cuts and some other things right now. One of the unspoken elements that we discussed at lunch, and it just is not talked about. Yes, we got a great justice, Justice Gorsuch, into the United States Supreme Court. He is going to be outstanding, hopefully, for many, many years. But something that people aren't talking about is how many judges we've had approved, whether it be the Court of Appeals, circuit judges, whether it be district judges. We have tremendous right now under review. The Democrats are holding them up beyond anything beyond comprehension, they're holding them up. I mean, frankly, they have terrible, terrible policy, and perhaps they're not even good politicians, but they are good at obstruction. So I looked at some of these numbers between the judges, and I want to say that we will set records in terms of the number of judges. And if you read the Wall Street Journal, I have to give them a little bit of a person, a writer, I won't mention names, but you can see it, who has really been a really fair person, wrote an article or wrote a editorial in a sense, saying how well we're doing with judges and appointments. I think it's one of the big unsung things of this administration. In addition to the fact that we have had a lot of legislation passed on the VA and lots of other things. But the judge story is an untold story. Nobody wants to talk about it. But when you think about it, Mitch and I were saying, that has consequences 40 years out, depending on the age of the judge, but 40 years out. So numerous have been approved. Many, many are in the pipeline. The level of quality is extraordinary. And I just wanted to say that we're working very closely on that also and getting really great reviews from those people and in many cases some scholars that have been studying it. There has never been anything like what we've been able to do together with judges. So with that, I'd like to have Mitch say a few words, and if you want to do a little question and answer, we can do that also. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I want to underscore what the President said. We have the same agenda. We've been friends and acquaintances for a long time. We talk frequently. We don't give you a readout every time we have a conversation, but frequently we talk on the weekends about the issues that are before us. Obviously, passing the budget, which enables tax reform and tax reduction, comes next. Then the supplemental to take adequate care of those who've been harmed by the natural disasters we've been afflicted with lately. And of course, the Senate's unique role that seems to me a lot of people forget. We're in the personnel business. There are 1,200 of the President's nominations subject to confirmation in the Senate. The House is not in the personnel business. We are. The single most significant thing this President has done to change America is the appointment of Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. But it's not just the Supreme Court. There are a lot of vacancies at both the circuit court and district court level. As the President's indicated, young, conservative, and when we say conservative about a judge, what we're talking about here are the kind of people the President's appointing to the courts believe that the role of a judge is to try to rule based upon what the law says, not what they hoped the outcome would be. Justice Scalia used to say, if a judge is not occasionally unhappy with the conclusion he reached, he's not a very good judge. Or as Justice Gorsuch put it down in my state a couple of weeks ago, judges don't wear red, they don't wear blue, they wear black. And those are the kind of people the President is sending up to the Senate to be confirmed. Many of them, as he pointed out, younger, who will be on the bench for a long time and have a great deal to do with what kind of country we're going to have far into the future. Legislatively, obviously, the top priority is tax reduction. And I think what the President and I would both like to say to you today, contrary to what some of you may have reported, we're together totally on this agenda to move America forward.
John.
Mr. President, in terms of the timetable for tax reform, the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, has said he wants to get it done by the end of this year. He would make the House stay through the Christmas break in order to get it done. The Senate Majority Leader has said we'll get it done this Congress. Would you be okay if tax reform were not passed until next year as opposed to this year?
Well, I would like to see it be done this year, John. I would like very much to see it be done this year. So we won't go a step further. If we get it done, that's a great achievement. But don't forget, it took years for the Reagan administration to get taxes done. I've been here for 9 months, a little more than 9 months. I can say the same thing for health care. If you look at Obama, first of all, you look at Clinton, they weren't able to get it done. You look at other administrations, they weren't able to get it done. President Obama, after a long period of time, was able to finally push it through, but push through something that's now failed, really failing badly. But again, we're meeting, Democrat, Republican are meeting right now, and right now they're working on something very special. But I have to tell you, I really believe that we have a very good chance, and I think Mitch feels the same way, of getting the taxes done, hopefully fairly long before the end of the year. That's what we'd like to see. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just add what the president said. The goal is to get it done this calendar year. But it is important to remember that Obama signed Obamacare in March of year 2. Obama signed Dodd-Frank in July of year 2. We're going to get this job done, and the goal is to get it done by the end of the year.
Mr. President, Mr. President, and just to finish up for Mitch, and we're 9 months, right? So we could have a long way to go, but that's okay. Yes.
Drug czar. And on health care, in a recent tweet, he said, the only problem I have with Mitch McConnell is that after hearing repeal and replace for 7 years, he failed. That should never have happened. Do you still think
Well, let's go to the second part of your question with Mitch. Again, we've been doing health care for really 7 months, and probably 6 months if you think about it, because we started in probably a total of 6 months. Others were 2.5 years and much more than that. Others were 8 years, and they didn't get it passed. This man is going to get it done, okay? And I think get it done long before anybody else, and I think it's going to be a great health care. As far as Tom Marino, so he was a very early supporter of mine, the great state of Pennsylvania. He's a great guy. I did see the report. We're going to look into the report. We're going to take it very seriously because we're going to have a major announcement probably next week on the drug crisis and on the opioid massive problem. And I want to get that absolutely right. This country, and frankly, the world has a drug problem. The world has a drug problem, but we have it, and we're going to do something about it. So I'm going to have a major announcement on that problem next week. We're going to be looking into Tom.
Thank you, Mr. President. Trey Yanks with One American News. I'd like to ask you, do you support the plan by people who previously served in your administration, such as Steve Bannon, to primary Republican candidates in the 2018 election who do not support your agenda?
Well, I have a very good relationship, as you know, with Steve Bannon. Steve's been a friend of mine for a long time. I like Steve a lot. Steve is doing what Steve thinks is the right thing. Some of the people that he may be looking at, I'm going to see if we talk him out of that because, frankly, they're great people. What Mitch will tell you is that maybe with the exception of a few, and that is a very small few, I have a fantastic relationship with the people in the Senate and with the people in Congress. I mean, with our House of Representatives, I have a great relationship with political people. If you read the papers, you think I'm like on one island and they're like on the other. Well, it's not the way it is. We have a fantastic relationship. I'm friends with most of them, I can say, and I don't think anybody could have much of a higher percentage, but I'm friends with most of them. I like and respect most of them, and I think they like and respect me. Just so you understand, the Republican Party is very, very unified. When we get things approved, we have to go through hell because we have no Democrat support. We have nobody. We don't have a vote from the Democrats. As an example, massive tax cuts. We may not get any Democrat votes. Now, we also may get 3 or 4, but we may get no for massive tax cuts. We're the highest tax country in the world, and yet we may get no Democrat support. And that's because they're obstructionists, and they just basically want us to do badly, but that's not going to happen. Yes, go ahead. Right. Yes.
Number one, we want to reverse the law that Congressman Marino helped pass that the DEA whistleblowers say has contributed to the expansion of the opioid.
We're going to look at that very closely.
And does his sponsorship of that law in any way undermine your confidence in him?
Well, he's a good man. I have not spoken to him, but I will speak to him, and I'll make that determination. And if I think it's 1% negative to doing what we want to do, I will make a change. Yes. Wait 1 second. Yes. We are going to be doing that next week. By the way, you know that's a big step. By the way, people have no understanding of what you just said. That is a very, very big statement. It's a very important step. And to get to that step, a lot of work has to be done, and it's time-consuming work. We're going to be doing it next week, okay?
Did you have a chance during your lunch today to discuss the comments that Steve Bannon made this weekend, and what do you make of those comments? Republican Party going more on you.
Look, you know, the goal here is to win elections in November. Back in 2010 and 2012, we nominated several candidates, Christine O'Donnell, Sharon Angle, Todd Aiken, Richard Murdoch. They're not in the Senate. And the reason for that was that they were not able to appeal to a broader electorate in the general election. My goal as the leader of the Republican Party in the Senate is to keep us in the majority. The way you do that is not complicated. You have to nominate people who can actually win, because winners make policy and losers go home. We changed the business model in 2014. We nominated people who could win everywhere. We took the majority in the Senate. We had one skirmish in 2016. We kept the majority in the Senate. So our operating approach will be to support our incumbents, and in open seats to seek to help nominate people who can actually win in November. That's my approach. That's the way you keep a governing majority.
Mr. President, sir, Mr. President, Mr. President, sir, Mr. President, Mr. President, sir, sir.
Earlier today, you criticized drug companies and also insurance companies, saying that drug companies were charging prices that were too high and insurance companies were taking government money.
Exactly right.
What specifically would you like to see both of those types of companies do?
So the insurance companies have made a fortune with Obamacare, an absolute fortune. As you know, what I did with the cuts at the end, which were all going, you know, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars a month going right into the pockets of the insurance companies. And I'm very happy with what I did. And because of that, people are talking now. Democrats are talking to the Republicans for a short term taking care of what we will call health care, so that people can have good health care without big spikes. You would have had massive spikes. You already have. I mean, every year, the massive spikes to Obamacare have been ridiculous. As far as, and I didn't speak to Mitch about this today, but a priority of mine, and you know that this is coming up, will be the cost of prescription drugs. We're going to get the costs way down, way down. And those drug companies, so you have the insurance companies in the one case. In the other case, actually, with regard to both, you have the drug companies. They contribute massive amounts of money to political people. I don't know, Mitch, maybe even to you. But I have to tell you, they contribute massive amounts of money. Me, I'm not interested in their money. I don't need their money. I will tell you, you have prescription drugs. You go to England, you go to various places, Canada, you go to many, many countries, and the same exact pill from the same company, the same box, same everything, is a tiny fraction of what it costs in the United States. We are going to get drug prices, prescription drug prices, way down, because the world has taken advantage of us. The world has taken advantage of us when that happens. So that's going to be very important.
Sir, Mr. President, sir, Mr. President.
Thank you. On healthcare, there are about 6 million people that get subsidies to help pay for Obamacare. About 70% by one study come from states that you won in November.
Yeah.
Now that you've cut off these payments, are you going to ensure that those people will still get help from the federal government? Pay for that insurance?
Well, that's what we're looking to do, Joe. We want to get it down so that people can have affordable health care. Look, you look at some states, 116% up. In Alaska, over 200% up. In other states, 50%, 70% up. And those are some of the states that are doing better. Obamacare is a wreck. It's a mess. It's destroying lives. We want to get it in those states, the states that I did so well in, but also in states that I didn't win. I want to get health care that's much more affordable and much better health care, and that's what we're doing. Yes.
Let me ask you about tax reform.
Go ahead, tax reform.
Yeah, tax reform. You had said the other day that there were some adjustments being made.
Yeah.
Gary Cohn said today that there would be some things that are negotiable. What exactly, in your eyes, is negotiable? And then for the leader, You said that the top priority is tax reduction. You did not say tax reform in 2017, Leader McConnell. So could you commit specifically to tax reform in 2017 to the both of you?
So we are doing minor adjustments. We want to make sure that the middle class is the biggest beneficiary of the tax cuts and tax reform. And that's, I'm sure, what Mitch meant also, because people get it confused. We are doing massive tax cuts. We're also doing simplification and reform. Simplification, where literally if we can do it on one page, now in some cases it may be 2 pages, but we're doing major simplification. We're bringing the categories down from, if you include 0, because there are 0, we're bringing it from 8 to 4. That's a big, big simplification, just that alone. But we are doing the massive cuts, and I will say this, wherever I've been, this has been so popular with the people. Now we have to get a couple of additional people to raise their hands. Mitch?
President?
Yeah, I agree with the president. It's about both reduction and reform. It's been 30 years since this kind of effort was undertaken successfully, and we're going to succeed this time. The bills, the details of them will be written by the Ways and Means and Finance committees after we approve the budget, and obviously the budget opens the path to tax reform. But it's about both reform and reduction.
President, why haven't we heard anything from you so far about the soldiers that were killed in Niger, and what do you have to say about that?
I've written them personal letters. They've been sent or they're going out tonight, but they were written during the weekend. I will, at some point during the period of time, call the parents and the families, because I have done that traditionally. I felt very, very badly about that. I always feel badly. It's the toughest calls I have to make are the calls where this happens. Soldiers are killed. It's a very difficult thing. Now it gets to a point where, you know, you make 4 or 5 of them in one day is a very, very tough day. For me, that's by far the toughest. So the traditional way, if you look at President Obama and other presidents, most of them didn't make calls. A lot of them didn't make calls. I like to call when it's appropriate, when I think I'm able to do it. They have made the ultimate sacrifice. So generally, I would say that I like to call. I'm going to be calling them. I want a little time to pass. I'm going to be calling them. I have, as you know, since I've been president, I have. But in addition, I actually wrote letters individually to the soldiers we're talking about, and they're going to be going out either today or tomorrow. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
General Kelly said on just last week that you believe that Cuba could stop the attacks against Americans. Do you believe then that Cuba is?
I think Cuba knew about it.
Cuba is responsible?
Sure. I do believe Cuba is responsible. I do believe that, and it's a very unusual attack, as you know. But I do believe Cuba is responsible. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President,
Roy Moore down in Alabama has said that he believes homosexuality should be illegal and that Muslims should be barred from serving in the U.S. Congress. What makes you comfortable with someone with those beliefs serving in the U.S. Senate? And the same question to you, Mr. Leader.
Well, I'm going to be meeting with Roy sometime next week, and we're going to talk to him about a lot of different things, but I'll be meeting with him. He ran a very strong race. The people of Alabama, who I like very much, and they like me very much, but they like Roy, and we'll be talking to him, and I can report to you then. Okay?
Mr. President, sir. Mr. President. Mr. President, sir.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, this is a question for you and for Leader McConnell. Following up on your comments on judges, one of the issues outstanding right now is whether the Senate Judiciary Committee will put the position of blue slips. I'm wondering if your position is, Mr. President, and what your position is, Leader McConnell, since you know this is the position that right now gives Democrats leverage over the appointment.
I can give you my position. The blue slip, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is a custom determined by the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. And Senator Grassley can give you his view of how he views it. I'll give you my view. My view is that a blue slip on a circuit judge is simply a notification of how you're going to vote. To conclude otherwise would have left us in the following position at the beginning of this Senate. 48 Democratic senators would have been able to blackball 62% of the circuit judge nominees. That's simply not a tenable place to land in a Senate that now deals with judges with a simple majority. So my own personal view is that a blue slip on a circuit judge should simply be a notification of how you intend to vote.
I mean, we can talk blue slips, but my attitude is I just want really capable people going to the courts. Peter?
Mr. President, in 2012, you tweeted that Obama's complaints about Republicans stopping his agenda are BS, in your words, since he had full control for 2 years. You wrote, he can never take responsibility. But today you said about some of the challenges right now in Congress and in Washington, I'm not going to blame myself, I'll be honest, they're not getting the job done. So what's different then than now?
Well, let me just explain what's different. We have nominations pending right now, and we have 182 approved. If you look at this, the number that he had approved was 65% and 70%, and we have 39%. They're holding up every single nomination. Schumer and the group are holding up every single nomination. They are obstructing. They're doing, it's really what, I'm telling you, they're not good politicians, but they're very good at obstruction. They are holding up every single nomination. And I will tell you, Peter, it's not right. It's really not right. They'll bring them right out to the end, that last minute. What they're doing is unfair. So you look at even Bush, you look at Obama, you look at Clinton, and you look at Bush original, you have 389 versus 182. These are approvals. You look at Clinton, 357 versus 182. You look at President Obama, 364 versus 182. These are nominations approved. And what they're doing to us, we have unbelievable people in there waiting to be approved. They've been waiting for a long period of time. Now, I do believe that Mitch is going to start pushing them very hard. And he can do that, and he wants to do that. He also wants to get the judicial nominations through, and he wants to get them through fast, too. Go ahead, John. Go ahead, John.
Could I just follow on that, if I could? You seem to have a budding spirit of cooperation with the Senate Minority Leader and the House Minority Leader when it came to the budget, when it came to this idea of finding a fix for DACA. But every proposal that you have floated since then, they have very critically rejected. So where is this relationship?
Well, I hope to have a relationship. If we don't, we don't. I mean, we have races coming up, and as you know, in a year from now, I think we're going to probably do very well. I can say this, if we get taxes approved, we're going to do unbelievably well. Many of the senators are running in states that I won by massive amounts, over 20%, sometimes 30%, I guess in one or two cases by over 40% over the Democrat. Well, we're going to let you know that I would like to give you that answer in about 7 years from now. Is that okay?
Mr. President, sir.
Meaning 1 + 7. I hope to be, John, I hope to be able to, because I like the concept of bipartisan. But right now they are doing nothing but obstructing. And really, you know, if you think about it, they're against major tax cuts that's going to make our country stronger and more competitive. That's a hard thing to win an election on. And I believe that some Democrats will be voting for us when it comes to the tax cuts.
Mr. President, sir.
What about this economic development bill that you mentioned?
I'm going to be proposing an economic development bill in the not too distant future. I want to get tax cuts obviously done first, maybe even the health care, but I think somewhere either in between or shortly thereafter, I'm going to be developing an economic development bill that will put us so far ahead of other countries, you will not even believe it. That'll be very important.
Mr. President, sir, Mr. President, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Last week, your administration made two major announcements on rolling back the Iran deal and getting rid of the cost-sharing reductions as part of Obamacare. And a lot of criticism has been leveled at your administration, saying that really all you're doing is—
And a lot of praise.
Fair enough, sir. Rolling back, a lot of what you're doing is simply rolling back everything your predecessor accomplished. Is there a single policy of your predecessor that you specifically do not want to touch, sir?
Well, we're very opposite in terms of incentives and incentives for jobs and other things. And if you look at what's happened, we just hit a new high today again in the stock market. We've picked up, Mitch, it's as of this moment, $5.2 trillion in stock market value. We have the lowest unemployment rate in, I believe it's almost 17 years. We're doing well. We're going to be doing immigration work that's going to be outstanding, and we're going to have people coming into our country based hopefully on a merit system, not just coming in randomly, but they're going to be coming in based on a merit system where they can help us, because I have companies moving into this country. You saw what happened with the automobile industry last week with 5 major plants. We have companies pouring back into this country for the first time in anybody's memory. We are actually going to be fairly soon at a point where we're going to need workers. Our country is going to do so well, but the tax cuts are going to be a major, major part of it.
You want to keep in place, though? Is there a single policy you keep in place?
Not too many, I must say. It's the opposite side of the spectrum.
Sure.
Peter, go ahead, Peter.
Earlier you said that President Obama never called the families of fallen soldiers. How can you make that claim?
I don't know if he did. No. I was told that he didn't often, and a lot of presidents don't. They write letters. I do. Excuse me, Peter. I do a combination of both. Sometimes it's a very difficult thing to do, but I do a combination of both. President Obama, I think, probably did sometimes, and maybe sometimes he didn't. I don't know. That's what I was told. All I can do is ask my generals. Other presidents did not call. They'd write letters, and some presidents didn't do anything. But I like the combination of, I like when I can, the combination of a call and also a letter.
Yeah, Mr. President. Yeah, Mr. President.
Mr. President, thank you. Sorry. If it would help you, sorry.
One at a time. Go ahead.
Thank you. If it would help you, if it would help Special Counsel Robert Mueller get to the end of the Russia investigation.
Well, I'd like to see it end. Look, the whole Russian thing was an excuse. Excuse me. The whole Russian thing was an excuse for the Democrats losing the election, and it turns out to be just one excuse. I mean, today Hillary blamed Nigel Farage. That one came out of nowhere. So that was just an excuse for the Democrats losing an election that, frankly, they have a big advantage in the Electoral College. They should always be able to win in the Electoral College, but they were unable to do it. So there has been absolutely no collusion. It's been stated that they have no collusion. They ought to get to the end of it, because I think the American public is sick of it. Go ahead.
Interview. Mr. President, Veronica Cleary with Fox 5.
Yes.
Do you believe that your comments in any way affected Bo Bergdahl's ability to receive a fair trial? And can you respond to his attorney's
Well, I can't
claims
comment
that...
on Bo Bergdahl because he's, as you know, I guess he's doing something today, as we know, and he's also they're setting up sentencing. So I'm not going to comment on him, but I think people have heard my comments in the past. Go ahead.
Will you extend the deadline for DACA recipients if Congress can't pass the bill by March?
Well, they should be able to do something, but we need very strong border security, and we do want the wall. Go ahead. No, they haven't. In fact, I spoke to Governor Brown. We had a great conversation. We have FEMA there, and as you know, James Lee Witt gave us an A+, and I think if he didn't include the fires, he would include the fires also. We have FEMA there. We have military there. We have first responders there. It's a tragic situation, but we're working very closely with the representatives from California, and we're doing a good job.
Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President.
Go ahead, back. Yes, go ahead, back. All I can say is it's totally fake news. It's just fake. It's fake. It's made up stuff, and it's disgraceful what happens. But that happens in the world of politics. John.
On the wall, are you going to insist that we must have all funding before you sign something for the Dreamers or spending for the rest of the year?
Our country needs a wall. Mexico, you see what's happening there. You see what just happened yesterday with one of their big political leaders. Mexico is not doing particularly well when it comes to the kind of thing that we have great interest in. Drugs are pouring across our border. We're stopping it, but we need a wall to really stop it. We need a wall in this country. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. We have to have a wall, so that's going to be part of it.
President.
Can somebody else get it?
Well, the Puerto Rico situation is so, because as you know, Oh, I think, well, that's according to the Clinton administration's head of FEMA. It's been outstanding. Puerto Rico is very tough because of the fact it's an island, but it's also tough because, as you know, it was in very poor shape before the hurricanes ever hit. Their electrical grid was destroyed before the hurricanes got there. It was in very bad shape, was not working, was in bankruptcy, owed $9 billion. And then on top of that, the hurricane came. Now, you're going to have to build a whole new electrical plant system. We're not talking about generators. You know, Puerto Rico now has more generators, I believe, than any place in the world. There are generators all over the place. The fact is, their electrical system was in horrible shape before and even worse shape after. So we are working right now. As you know, relief funds were just approved and are in the process of being approved by Congress. And that includes Texas, by the way, that includes Florida, and it also includes Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, et cetera. But it was in really bad shape before. We have done, I will say this, we've delivered tremendous amounts of water. Then what you have to do is you have to have distribution of the water by the people on the island. So we have massive amounts of water. We have massive amounts of food, but they have to distribute the food. And they have to do this. They have to distribute the food to the people of the island. So what we've done is we now actually have military distributing food, something that really they shouldn't have to be doing. But if you look at the governor, who's a good man, by the way, but you look at the governor of Puerto Rico, he himself has said we've done an outstanding job, and most people have said we've done an outstanding job. But Puerto Rico is a very tough one. Yes, go ahead.
The 20-week abortion ban bill, how important is this bill to you, and what are you doing to work with Leader McConnell to make this bill?
Well, I'll let Mitch. You want to talk about that?
Was the question about the 20-week? Yeah, well, it's supported by virtually all of my members, and we expect to have a vote on it at some point.
There are those who believe this would be the worst time to do that because it would be viewed as provocative. How do you view what you're trying to accomplish in South Korea? Do you intend to go to the DMZ?
Well, I'll be going, as you know, to South Korea, to China, to Japan, to Vietnam for the summit. We have a big economic summit there. I may be going to the Philippines also. We've been invited. We've been invited to the Philippines, so I may be going to the Philippines. And I look forward to all of them. We haven't set the details as of this moment. We'll take a look at that. I didn't hear in terms of provoking, but we will certainly take a look at that.
Mr. President.
Sir, a quick follow-up on an earlier question to Sarah. You discussed the special counsel and the investigation currently. Are you considering firing Robert Mueller?
No, not at all.
One quick follow-up on Iraq, sir. On Iraq, the Kurdish forces and Iraqi forces last night were clashing in northern Iraq. Are you concerned about a larger conflict in the region while U.S. forces are still advising on the ground?
We don't like the fact that they're clashing. We're not taking sides, but we don't like the fact that they're clashing. Well, let me tell you, we've had for many years very good relationship with the Kurds, as you know, and we've also been on the side of Iraq. Even though we should have never been in there in the first place, we should never have been there, but we're not taking sides in that battle. John?
In an interview earlier today, Hillary Clinton said that she did not believe that players taking a knee in the NFL was about disrespecting the class. Complete odds with the way that you have portrayed this. You fired back in a tweet saying that you hope that she runs again in 2020. Why?
Oh, I hope Hillary runs. Is she going to run? I hope. Hillary, please run again. Go ahead.
So she's at odds with you over whether or not this is disrespecting the flag. Is she right or is she wrong?
I think she's wrong. Look, when they take a knee, there's plenty of time to do knees and there's plenty of time to do lots of other things. But when you take a knee, well, that's why she lost the election. I mean, honestly, it's that thinking. That is the reason she lost the election. When you go down and take a knee or any other way, you're sitting, essentially, for our great national anthem. You're disrespecting our flag, and you're disrespecting our country. And the NFL should have suspended some of these players for one game. Not fire them, suspended them for one game. And then if they did it again, it could have been 2 games and 3 games, and then for the season. You wouldn't have people disrespecting our country right now. And if Hillary Clinton actually made the statement that in a form sitting down during the playing of our great national anthem is not disrespectful, then I fully understand why she didn't win. I know, I mean, look, there are a lot of reasons she didn't win, including the fact that she was not good at what she did. But I will tell you, that is something that I had just heard about, and I think that her statement in itself is very disrespectful to our country. Thank you very much.
Police involved shootings. Police involved shootings. As it relates to the NFL, that is what the players are saying is the crux of why they're taking a knee, sir. The police involved shooting issue.
It is very disrespectful to our country when they take a knee during our national anthem. It is very disrespectful. Just hear it, hear it. It is very disrespectful to our country when they take a knee during the national anthem, number one. Number two, the people of our country are very angry at the NFL. All you have to do is look at their ratings and look at their stadiums. You see empty seats where you never saw them before. A lot of people are very angry at it. It is highly disrespectful. They shouldn't do it. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, so a pretty long question and answer session there with the president and Mitch McConnell in the Rose Garden as they sort of exit to the right there. President Trump, again, using the term fake news. He's touting his really solid relationship with Mitch McConnell and even preempting an upcoming announcement about the war on drugs and the opioid crisis, saying that is coming shortly. So leaving a little bit of mystery as always. And like I said, a long period of question and answer there in the Rose Garden. Once again, this was in lieu of the White House press briefing inside the briefing room. So this sort of got moved at the last second, and there it is. We just lost our shot. So that will do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for joining us on the stream today, and you can join us again tomorrow. Of course, you can visit us on all our platforms, Fox 5 DC on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and you can join us here on YouTube tomorrow, as usual, at 11:30 for breaking news and anything live that's coming up. So thanks for staying on our stream. And if you haven't already, you can subscribe to our channel. Use that red bold button that says subscribe right below this screen, and you can be part of our channel. So with that, guys, we'll leave you a little shot, a wider shot of our newsroom, and we'll catch you tomorrow on Fox 5 Live. Thanks for joining.